The Carolina Hurricanes are going to have to make some moves here soon to replace an injured Max Pacioretty. But just what are the most likely options? We dive into that and a revised opening night roster and some ECHL affiliate news all in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I am your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday afternoon. And you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at @LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And in today's episode, we will be diving into just how the Carolina Hurricanes should replace Max Pacioretty. This is a long time coming. It's something I've thought about for a little while now of just what are the options going to be here as far as how they're going to replace what was going to be a really big part of the offense for this team this season. And now he had obviously torn his Achilles tendon last month practicing and is going to be out until February, March, in that time frame. So, I've touched on this a little bit here on this show as well as some of the other Locked On shows as far as what the Carolina Hurricanes need to do to replace that or replace him. As far as a trade goes, I kind of think that's a bit unlikely, at least for right now. If things go poorly, I could see it happening. I could, if whatever they decide to do just doesn't work out. I could see them maybe pursuing a trade, or if just the right thing happens to come across Don Waddell's desk, then maybe they do make a trade. But ultimately, I just feel like at this point on August 22nd, that if they were going to make another trade, they probably would have done it already. Same with, honestly, the free agent signings. I feel like if they were going to sign a free agent to hold his spot, they would have done it by now. And ultimately, another thing with both of those situations is that they don't have enough cap space to really be doing something like that. If I remember correctly, they only have a little bit of cap space left. They're pushed up against the salary cap yet again. And right now they are sitting at worse than I even thought they were. They currently have no cap space right now. They're currently a little over $1 million over the salary cap. And they're not using any LTIR. I imagine that Pacioretty will get put on that when it gets a little bit closer to the start of the season or training camp or anything like that. I imagine that will come, just not right now. But yeah, they don't have any room to really be bringing anybody in. If they do, they're going to have to move somebody. They're going to have to make a trade. I know that a lot of folks have speculated as far as the future of Jake Gardner. And that probably would be the most likely person to get shipped off. But we've heard quite a bit this offseason that it is very, very hard to move money around the NHL right now. And the Hurricanes, if they were to move him, they're going to have to retain some salary there. Very much like the Brent Burns deal with San Jose. San Jose retained some salary, and the Hurricanes are going to have to do that if they move Jake Gardiner or anyone else. Unless, it is just a super, super low amount, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then you think of, just what's going on right now with the team. If, they haven't officially moved him over, like I said, and now you also have, which we'll talk more about here in a little bit, you have Derek Stepan on a PTO, and who was on the team last season. So is he coming back? He's obviously not going to command a huge salary, but when you are already over the salary cap, what are you going to do there? So they're really going to, I don't see them bringing anyone in. There's no cap room for that. And as far as a trade, unless the right thing comes along or things just hit the fan, I don't see a trade happening. They're going to stick with their existing players that they already have on the roster and in the system. That's what they're going to go with here. I think that is the most likely, and that is what is going to happen. And I feel like a lot of other people probably feel the same way, that if they're going to make a move, they would have done it already. But it's going to be a matter of who they roll with. And I mentioned Derek Stepan being on a professional tryout right now heading into training camp. He's obviously not going to be a top 6 guy or anything like that, but he's a guy that knows the team and could potentially slot in here. And where would he fit in on that? Don't know, and we will find that out, and we'll speculate on that in this next segment right after this quick break. This is a PSA from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home, okay? It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So, if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Now, folks, we're back, and we've already just predicted an opening night roster before. So that's why, this isn't going to be like a full episode thing again. But again, there have been changes. Max Pacioretty is out. And again, you also have Derek Stepan potentially coming back into the fold. So we're going to quickly get through a revised opening night roster prediction. We'll start with the most obvious. Goalies, Freddie Anderson, Antti Raanta. Duh. And on defense, Slave and Burns on the top pairing, Shea Pesci on the second, Ethan Bear probably most likely paired with Jake Gardiner. Now, I do have a couple other names still here with Jake Gardiner, and that is Dylan Coghlan and Jalen Chatfield. I do think that those guys when training camp rolls around, if they just show up and have a great training camp, then maybe they are on the opening night roster. I do think it is a real possibility because, again, I think Jake Gardner is definitely going to be a guy that could potentially find himself on the trade block if he isn't already, because of his salary cap hit. Coughlin is obviously one with some more NHL experience. He is also, I believe they gave him a number already, so there is that as well. But we also have Jalen Chatfield. He was obviously, coming in, a fringe guy, kind of bouncing back and forth between the NHL and AHL. But whenever he came over from Vancouver to Chicago and the Hurricanes, whenever he got his chance last season at the end of the year, absolutely killing it and really earning himself that contract extension in those few games that we saw. I do think that the Carolina Hurricanes do see him as a guy that could make that jump up. So I wouldn't rule out Coughlin or Chatfield making the roster over Gardner. But I do think that the safe bet would be to go with Jake Gardner. You figure in his cap hit, and they're probably going to want to see what he can do, honestly. He's the one they're paying $4 million a season, have been. So I think they roll with him because of the investment that they made in him, unless, again, just one of those other guys just forces their hand, very much like Seth Jarvis did last training camp. Now, going into the forwards, this is where we're obviously having a lot more speculation. Top line, I still have that same Teuvo, Aho, and Jarvis. Second line is where we now are missing Pacioretty. So I think it will now be Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi, and Necas. I think, again, barring someone in training camp just really forcing their hand, I think Necas will be the guy to slot in up there on that second line to take the place of Pacioretty. Necas does have a lot of offensive upside, and we've seen it from him. He's had moments of it last season, despite overall a pretty disappointing season. But like Kotkaniemi, I think that they're going to expect big things from him this year, and they're going to give him that opportunity to step up and prove himself. Now, on the third pairing, we do have an opening there as well, I feel, alongside Jordan Staal and Jesper Fast, with Nino being gone now. You could obviously make the case to have one of the fourth line guys potentially move up there, but I do think that is unlikely. I do have Ryan Desingle pinned in right there. He obviously re-signed with the team this offseason on a 1-year, 2-way deal. So whenever the time would come, whenever Pacioretty would come back and the lineup has to get shuffled around again, he'd just get sent on back, barring an incredible season or something like that. But I could also maybe see, should Derek Stepan make the roster during training camp, you have a guy like Andre Kasha sliding in there on that third line, and Stepan going back to his spot on the fourth line, because he was a guy that I feel the Hurricanes were better when they had him in the lineup. I really enjoyed him last season. He obviously isn't going to be a guy that goes out and puts up a whole bunch of goals or points or anything like that. That's not going to happen. That's not his game. But for his role that he had last season, I think he did really well. And very much like Ethan Bear, not playing him in the playoffs, kind of initially thought that wasn't a good sign for his future with the team, but Bear got brought back, and now Stepan is on a PTO. So I do think there is a chance he could make the roster. He's the one that, like Desingle, already knows the system and knows the team. And, with Desingle being on that two-way deal, he's the guy that can kind of bounce back and forth. So maybe Stepan, is the guy that makes the roster. He's obviously not going to cost a bunch. You figure they're probably going to have to do something in terms of IR to make some cap room for whoever they decide to do their stuff with. But it's one that those are the two guys that it's down between, because you figure on the fourth line it's going to be Martinook, Drury, and then I have Kacha penciled in right now. But Drury is going to come up from the AHL. I think that's a really safe bet that he's going to make the jump up. I think he's ready for it. So what the Hurricanes do here, it's ultimately, right now just speculation, but I wouldn't rule out Stepan making the team. And, we'll see how things go, because it is one thing, I'm sitting here talking into a microphone about all this, and you're listening. You probably have your own thoughts on it, but we won't know until we know, until training camp rolls around. And maybe maybe they make a move. Maybe the right deal comes across the desk and they decide to ship somebody out. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We still got quite a bit of time. Again, I said that I feel like if they're going to make a move, they would have done it already. But, we'll see how it goes. Ultimately, they know more about it than I do. They know more about it than you do. They're the ones that get paid the big bucks up there in the offices at PNC Arena, or, their home offices, wherever it may be. But, the Carolina Hurricanes also extended their ECHL affiliation with the Norfolk Admirals, and we will dive into that right after this quick break. Folks, we're back in. Now it's time to talk about some news that came out the other day, and that is that the Carolina Hurricanes extended their agreement with the ECHL's Norfolk Admirals. And I do like this move because they've bounced around with some affiliates as of late. We had Florida Everblades for a while, and then we had the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, and now we have Norfolk. And it was very much, they're kind of like bouncing, back and forth, bouncing around with affiliates. And it's one of those things that, I get, business is business, but I like, the steady, just this is the team guys, that are on those two-way deals, that'll get moved around on the teams. They can stay in one spot. They're not, obviously it didn't affect them that much, considering they won a Calder Cup, but when we got the new AHL affiliation, going from Charlotte to Chicago, I like, how we, just have the same affiliate for a while. And, those guys, they know where they're at, and they're not having to, like, bounce around, like, move from Charlotte to Chicago. Or, some of these other guys that are farther down in the pecking order move from Greenville, South Carolina to Norfolk, Virginia. Nothing like that. I like, the consistent affiliate. And then, obviously, Norfolk isn't that far away. I believe it's 4 hours or so from Raleigh. So not super far away, and it's still like in the same region. Obviously, I know we all really liked it when we still had Greenville and Charlotte, all in the Carolinas with us in Raleigh. the Checkers in Charlotte, and then the Swamp Rabbits down in Greenville, South Carolina. I know we all really liked that. Just kind of a cool little thing of it's, all in the Carolinas. That was very cool, but, business is business again. So I like, that we were able to stick with the same affiliate. I do think that will help the guys develop moving up from the ECHL to the AHL, and then maybe, even the NHL. Just being able to have that consistent place of not having to, bounce around from team to team and whatnot. I really like that. Just, again, just the consistency of it. I really, really like that. Obviously, Carolina Hurricanes team reporter, Walt Ruff, he used to work for the Admirals as well. So, that's obviously a cool thing for him as well. His old affiliate is still there. And ultimately, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, best of luck. This affiliation agreement is just extended through this coming season, the 2022-2023 season. So just like a 1-year thing there. So, we'll see how it goes. I like the move. I like the consistency of not, going from affiliate to affiliate and so on and so on. I really like that. And, the Admirals, congratulations to them. Still glad to have you guys be a part of the Hurricanes family. But in the meantime, make sure you follow Locked On Hurricanes on Twitter and Instagram at @LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode.